What's up, everybody? After Texas celebrated joining the SEC on Sunday, Oklahoma dove headfirst into the SEC on Monday. And as Greg Sankey already taking questions about horns down, Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along on today's show. We'll talk about Oklahoma joining the SEC. We'll catch up with Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold and Greg Sankey already sounding off on horns down. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. The sports world is not going to stop sporting. It keeps rolling on, and this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, let's dive into it as the University of Oklahoma is now officially a member of the SEC. The move from the Big 12 to the SEC went into effect officially on Monday. We were on campus in Austin at Texas on Sunday as they celebrated their move into the conference, and then Oklahoma did theirs on Monday. Of course, Monday became the official day for both schools, but schools celebrating the move. They had a full day of events on campus. It kicked off Monday morning. They had a 5K run. They had fireworks, live music, pep rallies, SEC Network, of course, on campus with former Sooner alum Dari Noka anchoring a lot of the coverage. But SEC Network interviewed a lot of the coaches. Brent Venables, of course, former head coach Bob Stoops, Patty Gasso, their softball coach, Skip Johnson, their baseball coach, among other notable figures. But perhaps the most fun was OU Athletic Director Joe Castiglione and the school president Joseph Harris were on SEC Now Monday afternoon, and they were talking about the decision to leave and school's decision in 2021 to ultimately leave the Big 12 and join the SEC. And Castiglione said, look, I will tell you without reservation, every coach we talked to was excited about this move. And you know what? The ones that aren't here anymore. This is Oklahoma. Either get with it or get on with it. And it was very funny because obviously Dari Noka and Alyssa Lang, they kind of laughed as it happened, along with Commissioner Greg Sankey. And school president Harris said, we call that a mic drop. Castiglione was obviously taking a shot at former head coach Lincoln Riley, who left for Southern Cal a few months after news broke that Oklahoma would be leaving for the SEC. Lincoln Riley in the past denied that the SEC move had anything to do with him jumping ship and leaving. But if you remember at the time, LSU was hot on the trail for him. They were like, hey, if you want to leave Oklahoma, we'll take you. And he went to a non-SEC school. Riley had 3 attempts against the SEC in the playoffs, and they were all ugly. They gave up like 50 points on average in all those losses. But reports that came out that Riley and the Trojans tried to get out of playing LSU in the game this year. They will open in Las Vegas. And then USC and Ole Miss canceled their 2-game series that was to come in future years. So, Lincoln Riley, not a fan of the SEC, it looks like, trying to do his best to dodge them and avoid them. But it was just interesting comments from Castiglione because this is probably the closest confirmation we'll get that, they weren't happy with Lincoln Riley and or leaving and jumping ship, and that, hey, maybe he was scared of the competition, the SEC. Been there, done that. I played him, got my ass beat. I'm ready to move on, and that's kind of what Lincoln Riley said. But hopped on a plane less than a day after losing to Oklahoma State at the end of the 2021 season, went to USC, and while his streak of producing Heisman-winning quarterbacks continues, his streak of not winning big on the biggest level continues on. But a few other notes here. Oklahoma entering the SEC. Sooners got a familiar face, or could soon face a familiar face in Kentucky head coach Mark Stoops. Bob Stoops was on the SEC Network on Monday talking about his opinion on what that matchup will be like for Oklahoma fans when indeed Oklahoma plays Kentucky. Stoops said, look, at least Mark wasn't actually on our staff when I coached. That's a little bit different than Brent and Mike when they were together. I didn't like coaching against my brothers, he said. It was very awkward. Just didn't like it at all. But once you're on the field, Mark and Brent will go at it just like they're supposed to. Bob Stoops never coached against Mark Stoops when Stoops became the Kentucky head coach, but they did go against each other as when Stoops was defense coordinator at Florida State in 2010 and 2011, with the Sooners winning both of those games when Bob Stoops was the head coach. But that'll be an interesting one down the road. Of course, Bob Stoops, his allegiance lies in Oklahoma, even though he's retired. But sure, he roots for his brother Mark Stoops there in Kentucky. So that could be a fun one down the road. One other note here, Oklahoma women's basketball coach Jenny Barancic talked about coming to the SEC, and she said, look, we're heading into a pretty high expectation league. Said, I do think that we've had a great 3 years, and it was really fun to be a part of the Big 12. Real excited to compete against the best teams in the country now. That's what the SEC is all about. She said, I think every night is going to be a dogfight. And look, it is. I mean, when you look at some of the coaches in this league, obviously it starts with Dawn Staley and what she, has built and, winning championships. Of course, Kim Mulkey over at LSU is as tough as they get out. She won a championship a couple years ago. Kim Caldwell named as the head coach of Tennessee now. It's the list goes on and on. I mean, this is a tough league in terms of women's basketball. So we'll see what Oklahoma is able to do. But over on the football field, Oklahoma looking to compete for titles and looking to win a lot of games. And the way they're going to be able to do that is building through recruiting. And the Sooners won 10 games a year ago. They have a regular season win total this year of just 7.5 wins. That's according to FanDuel. It's largely because OU is set to face one of the toughest schedules in the country. Includes matchups against Texas, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Missouri. They will also face Auburn on the road, South Carolina at home. But some good news for Oklahoma on their 2025 recruiting class yesterday as they officially became a member of the SEC. Cortez Mills, blue chip wide receiver from Florida, took to social media and announced he is committed to the Sooners. He's listed at 6'1", 170 pounds. 24/7 Sports Composite has him as a 4-star receiver, number 12 overall receiver in the class of 2025, and the number 13 prospect from the state of Florida. He had offers from just about everybody across the country, and last month he narrowed his list down to a final 5 that included LSU, Florida, Clemson, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. Took official visits to all 5 schools and officially committed to Oklahoma. So with Mills on board, Oklahoma now has 20 verbal commitments for the class of 2025, which ranks number 5 in the country. Class is 3rd best in the SEC behind Alabama and Georgia currently. So we'll see what Cortez Mills is able to bring there. But Oklahoma, it seems like they always have some really good wide receivers, and they're just adding to that room with another special talent there. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, our conversation with Sooner quarterback Jackson Arnold. You don't want to miss that. It's coming your way here in just a second. Well, first, I'll remind you guys this episode is presented by friends over at FanDuel. Look, as playoffs had winded down in basketball and we're in the middle of baseball season, we are counting down the days to the start of football season, and no better place than to get by these next couple weeks as we get closer to football season than with our friends over at FanDuel. They keep the sports going whenever you want. All you have to do is open up the FanDuel app and dream up any bets anytime you're in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everybody every day, all summer long. Whether it's Major League Baseball, you're into WNBA, whatever it is, head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. And for some of those early football bets, we're talking about Oklahoma today. Sooners are a 41.5 point favorite over Temple in their season opener, and the over-under is 60.5. So if Oklahoma is going to cover those 41.5 points, they must be thinking Temple's not going to score much, right? So thinking maybe like a 42-17 type game, which, by the way, would be the under So if that's kind of how you think is going to play out, you can bet under the 60.5. You can bet Oklahoma minus the 41.5 if they're going to cover that. But FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball, and of course, tons of football betting lines you can get in on, even this early. Tons of week 1 lines all up there right now for just about every SEC school. It's FanDuel.com/lockedon. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. All right, roll along here, Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to every dayers. Keep coming back and checking us out. Today's show dedicating to the Oklahoma Sooners as they officially became members of the SEC yesterday, along with their Big 12 brethren in Texas. And switching gears a little bit, the Manning Passing Academy was this past weekend, and we were there, caught up with several of the quarterbacks. Among them, we caught up with Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold, and Jackson Arnold will take over for Dylan Gabriel to lead an offense that averaged 41.7 points per game last year. They were very impressive. The Sooners will have a new offensive line. And look, Jackson Arnold has looked good in his limited opportunities. He is hoping to take his game to the next level this offseason and was taking part of that Manning Passing Academy, of course, put on by the Manning family, Archie Manning, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, and Friday night, they do kind of some different drills and skill set, showcase things to kind of let guys show off their arms and that sort of thing. And Jackson Arnold on Friday night showing off good zip passes on their Friday Night Lights feature and threw some nice deep ball throws according to reports. And he said he feels much more confident entering year 2 of college ball in Norman and showcased his arm talent for everybody on Friday night at the Manning Passing Academy. So, again, Jackson Arnold, all the talent to be a very highly productive quarterback for the Sooners and in the SEC. He's got the size, got the arm strength, got the accuracy, and we'll see if Jackson Arnold can take the SEC and college football by storm. Look, if he lives up to the hype and he's very good in his first season as a starter, Oklahoma is going to surprise some people. And that's even with a daunting schedule, to say the least, in year 1 in the SEC. But without further ado, here was our conversation with Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold. A couple minutes here with Jackson Arnold. What's this offseason been like for you, man? You got to start in the bowl game, got your legs under you, and a full offseason kind of expectations as competing for that starting job. What's this offseason been like?
It's been good. A lot of grinding, a lot of hard work. Spring ball, just kind of focusing on the details, and not only that, but focusing on leadership too. Just kind of stepping up and showing those guys around that I can take the reins and I can lead those guys in the battle. And just been working this summer, been grinding the offseason, getting with those receivers, those tight ends, those running backs, even the O-line, just connecting with those guys and getting a good chemistry going for this fall.
We had your teammate Nick Anderson on the show a couple weeks ago, and obviously everybody saw what he could do as a freshman, setting the Oklahoma freshman record for most touchdowns. But, man, you got some dogs in that receiving corps. Give me a little scouting report on what y'all are going to be playing with.
Yeah, we've got that room is stacked, in my opinion. I could put them up with one of the best rooms in the nation. You got Nick, you got JG, you got Jaden Gibson, you got Dion, you got Jalil, you got Andrell, who's been hurt. Like, you got dudes all across the board. JJ Hester. You got dudes that are going to rotate. We're going to have our starters that are going to start, but you're going to have guys rotate in and out because those guys can compete. They're going to compete with each other, and they're all going to make names this year for themselves.
I don't know if you guys pay much attention to it, but Coach Venables getting the contract extension. It's always good to have your coach is there, but to have that stability, he's going to be around a while. It helps with recruiting, helps with everything, right?
No, for sure. I love Coach V to death. He's a great guy, fantastic coach, and just knowing that he's going to be there to stay brings peace of mind to me, for sure. Definitely for recruits, too, who are I don't know if anybody was ever thinking he was going to leave, but seeing that contract extension might help those recruits, really lock in with Coach V and that staff.
Let's talk some transfers. You guys have brought some dudes in, particularly on the D-line. What have you seen from some of the guys that have gotten here already from the spring or the summer that y'all got some upgrades with some monsters coming in, the big D-lineman from TCU and others, right?
Yeah, Dom came in this summer, so, we'll have our little OTA practices, so nothing with pads, so you can't really see the disruption there. You're in T-shirt and shorts, so you can't see much of a disruption in T-shirt and shorts. But I'm excited, man. We got some real good transfers on that side of the ball, especially the D-line, and then even the O-line, too, and at receivers. We got transfers everywhere that are going to be big impact players for us, so I'm super excited for them.
What's it like? What's been the discussion about coming to the SEC? I mean, is it kind of, all right, it's new logos, new teams and all, but I mean, is it as big of a deal as everybody else making out to be?
It really isn't. I mean, we just got to work harder. You know, I mean, SEC is a great conference, obviously. I mean, I think it's the best conference. You're playing against the best teams. It's going to be a dogfight every week. But I mean, for mindset-wise, you just got to keep attacking it like it's a regular game every single day.
I brought it up, but how helpful was it starting that bowl game to kind of get your feet under you, rather, as opposed to going out there against Temple week 1 and making your first career start?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, even though the bowl game didn't end up like how I wanted it to, I didn't play like how I wanted to. It's a great learning experience for me. I had something similar happen my freshman year of high school. I didn't play good at all, and just kind of use that as a building experience, a building block right there, and just learn from that experience. Took the positive out of it, learned from the negatives of it, and just kind of used it to propel myself into this next season.
Y'all have some dudes on that defense. You talked about how good it could be, but Bowman and some other guys. I mean, the big question everybody's saying, is Texas and Oklahoma SEC ready? I think with those guys you have on defense, I mean, you guys are ready, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was huge having guys like Billy and Danny come back. Those are two leaders on our team, and those are the guys that are going to lead our guys into battle, man. To have, you're starting Mike linebacker and you're starting strong safety, just come back. I mean, it's really impressive. I think Billy had 6 picks last year. I mean, it's just incredible, having those guys back. It's going to be huge for our defense, for their confidence, and for their performance on the field.
When Jackson Arnold isn't playing football, what are you doing?
Depends, man. Watching TV, cooking. When it's hunting season, I'll go hunting, go fishing, but, I mean, just laid back most of the time.
What do you cook?
I cook a bunch of things. I'll cook steaks, pasta, enchiladas. It's just whatever I find on Instagram, I cook.
All right, invite me over next time. Last thing for you, the video game is coming out soon, NCAA football. Are you in the game? Are you excited about coming out?
Yeah, I'm in the game. I'm super excited about it. It's a game I played with my cousins and my friends back when I was young on the Xbox 360, and it's kind of surreal knowing that you're going to be in the game and you're going to be able to play with yourself in the video game. It's a surreal moment. I'm just super excited for the game.
Jackson, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our thanks again to Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold. Still more to come here on Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Coming up next, Greg Sankey asked about horns down. Will it be a penalty? We'll discuss that in just a sec. I roll along here, Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making us your first listen every day. Hey, for your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today, streaming for you 24/7, all the biggest sports stories in the sports world. With all of our Locked On experts, you can check it out. Locked On Sports Today. Check it out on YouTube and the Amazon Fire TV free channels app. All right. Yesterday, July 1st, officially marked the big shift in the college sports landscape as two Big 12 teams, Texas and Oklahoma, joined the SEC, and reporters got to ask Greg Sankey some questions, and they did not wait to ask Greg Sankey the all-important question: is horns down going to be a penalty? Well, Greg Sankey meeting with the media Monday. Obviously, if you're familiar with the Texas-Oklahoma rivalry, the horns down celebration, it's been that go-to gesture from Sooners fans. It bugs the heck out of some Longhorn fans, and they consider it mocking Texas because they do hook 'em horns, and when you flip the horns upside down, it's horns down and it's mockery. But it even happened when Alabama players walked off the field following an early season loss to Texas. But in the Big 12, it was considered an unsportsmanlike penalty to do the horns down gesture. That had many reporters across the conference wondering, will the same policy apply in Texas's new conference? And Greg Sankey, not exactly wanting to be, I don't know what you would say, straightforward about an answer to this. Greg Sankey asked if horns down would be a penalty in the SEC. He said, quote, "I won't be answering questions about football penalties on July 1st. Basically going to defer to the head of officials for the SEC, which you got to believe they're going to go, who cares? We're not going to call that a penalty in the Southeastern Conference. Grow some thicker skin. But I think so. I think Greg Sankey's going to allow the horns down to stand. Again, it's mostly just harmless banter, trash talk. If we ban that, we're going to then say, well, Georgia fans, you can't bark at other people. And Mississippi State, you can't have the cowbells. And LSU, stop yelling tiger bait at people. That's mean. Again, it's just part of traditions of college football. So I got to think they're going to let it stand. But don't be surprised if some folks at Texas, maybe some of the higher-ups, appeal for it in the SEC and say, you know what? Sportsmanship is priority. We should, horns down is disrespectful. We need to do away with that. We'll see what happens. Other tidbits. We talked a little bit about Oklahoma recruiting. Let's talk about some recruiting from some other teams in the conference. How about over at Texas A&M? They added a big piece of their 2025 class on Sunday, picking up a commitment from four-star linebacker Noah McHale, a California native. Big addition to A&M's 2025 recruiting class. He's the number 69 overall player, the number 8 linebacker in the country for this upcoming recruiting class, and the number 5 player overall from the state of California. Visited College Station earlier this month, made visits to USC, Alabama, and Oregon, but made his announcement, picked up an offer from A&M back in March of 2022, so over 2 years ago. And he is from Laverne, California, listed 6'3", 227 pounds. So with A&M adding the linebacker, they now are up to 16 commitments in the class of 2025, but McHale is the first linebacker. Aggies class currently sits at number 7 in the nation. Over at Alabama, they continue their recruiting class, and Kalen DeBoer just loading up. Over the weekend, the Tide picked up 5-star prospect Dijon Lee, 5-star corner, one of the top overall defensive backs in this recruiting cycle. Had an offer from Alabama shortly after Kalen DeBoer got hired in January. And Dijon Lee committing to the Tide over the likes of A&M, Washington, and Georgia. 6'4", 190 pounds. 24/7 Sports Composite lists him as the top player out of the state of California, the number 4 cornerback in the country, and the number 22nd overall player, regardless of position. And you look at his Alabama recruiting class, he joins 5-star linebacker Darrell Johnson, 4-star quarterback Keelan Russell, all top 50 players in the country, along with 4-star corner Chuck McDonald. They're all included in the top 100. And Alabama's class now up to 20 players already, a group that ranks number 2 in the country behind Ohio State. And the Tide now have 2 players with a 5-star rating, joining Ohio State, LSU, and Georgia as the only schools with multiple 5-star commitments. So big pickup there for Kalen DeBoer and company. Over at Tennessee, they pick up a prospect for their class of 2025 with 4-star edge rusher Marion Dye committing to the Vols over the likes of Ohio State and LSU. He's the number 150 overall prospect, number 14 edge in the class of 2025. That's on the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings. Also the number 3 player from the state of Indiana. So a big-time pickup there for the Vols. Their group sits at number 10 in the national rankings with 16 prospects, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite rankings. Dye is the currently the second highest ranked defensive recruit in A&M's class. And a quick SEC baseball nugget. Texas A&M found their new baseball coach, choosing former hitting coach Michael Early to replace Jim Schlossnagle. The Aggies announced the move late Sunday. Schlossnagle, of course, just a week ago left for the Texas job after taking A&M to the Men's College World Series Finals. Early was reportedly going to be following him to Texas. In fact, I saw on Texas's website, there was a whole profile already created for Michael Early, but he decided he was going to go back and stick with the Aggies and become their head coach. He was the Aggies hitting coach the past 3 seasons. This past year, they set program records for home runs hit, walks, and 4 of their hitters, Braden Montgomery, Jackson Appel, Jason Lavalette, all earned All-America honors. Aggie AD Trev Albert sent a statement. Michael's a very talented coach and recruiter, but what stood out to me is the character and the relationship he's built with his current and former players. So I think it helps. He knows our current roster, which finished second in the country, also knows Aggie Land, the 12th man. We're excited about the future of Aggie baseball. Before joining A&M, Early spent 5 seasons at Arizona State, including 4 as the team's hitting coach. He's been building out his staff already, and one of the big hires, he is reportedly hiring as their next pitching coach, Washington's Jason Kelly, who's expected to make the move from Seattle down to College Station. Kelly served as the Huskies head coach for the past 2 seasons, going 54, 51, and 1. He's making his return to the SEC, spent 2022 as the pitching coach at LSU. Well, from 2013 to 2019, he was the pitching coach over at Washington, earned National Assistant Coach of the Year honors from D1 Baseball in 2018. So, big get there to go grab a former or a basically sitting head coach to come be an assistant for you. But that's a big pickup there for Aggie baseball. We'll see what Michael Early does as the head coach. And there you have it. This is the latest going on around the conference. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers. Keep coming back and checking us out. And hey, for your second listen, check out Locked On's first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today. Here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories on YouTube and the Amazon Fire TV channels app. Check it out. Find Locked On Sports Today wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making, like I said, Locked On SEC your first listen. We will talk to you guys later in the week. Keep coming back and checking us out. We'll have more interviews with SEC quarterbacks from the Manning Passing Academy, all coming your way later in this week. This has been Locked On SEC.